Bret Hart and Goldberg are back in the spotlight. Decades after the infamous kick that ended Hart's career, Goldberg has stirred the pot by saying he doesn't care about him. Meanwhile, Hart is opening up about the incident, bringing old tensions back to life. Bret, who has faced his own struggles and challenges since then, continues to cope with the lasting impact of that moment. But what's fueling this latest buzz? Let's find all the details in this video. Goldberg versus Bret, no apologies. Bret Hart, one of wrestling's greatest legends, had his career cut short in the most unfortunate way. A five-time WWE champion and a star both in WWE and WCW, Hart was famous for his incredible technical skills, storytelling, and charisma. He was known as the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. His contributions got him a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame twice, once in 2006 as an individual and again in 2019 as part of the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart's impressive wrestling career didn't end the way it should have. It was cut short in 1999 during a WCW match at Starrcade when Bill Goldberg delivered a kick to Hart's head, causing a serious concussion. Hart blamed Goldberg for not performing the move carefully, which led to injuries that forced Hart to retire in 2000. Hart has often criticized Goldberg's wrestling skills, even saying he belongs in a Hall of Shame rather than a Hall of Fame. This incident didn't just end Hart's career, it also caused a huge financial loss. In a 2019 interview, Hart revealed that the injury cost him $16 million. He had recently signed a big contract with WCW, worth $3 million a year for 3 years, plus 2 more years on his current deal. The injury stopped all of that immediately. Goldberg, who is also a wrestling star, has shown deep remorse for what happened. In a 2016 interview, he called it the biggest mistake of his life and apologized, saying he greatly respects Hart and never wanted to hurt him. Even before this injury, Hart had been involved in controversy. In 1997, he left WWE for WCW after the famous Montreal screw job. This was when WWE boss Vince McMahon secretly changed the outcome of a match, making Hart lose his championship to Shawn Michaels. The move was designed to stop Hart from taking the WWE title to WCW. Despite the injury, Hart made short comebacks to wrestling in 2010 and 2011 for a few special matches. He even won the US Championship in 2010. His final match was in September 2011 on an episode of Raw, where he teamed up with John Cena for a victory. Although his career ended earlier than expected, Bret Hart is still considered a wrestling legend, celebrated for his amazing talent and unforgettable moments in the ring. Hart has openly criticized Goldberg, attributing his career-ending injury to Goldberg's inexperience and unsafe wrestling style. Despite Goldberg's repeated apologies, Hart has continued to express his grievances. In a recent interview on the Chris Van Vliet podcast, Goldberg addressed Hart's ongoing criticisms, stating, "I really don't care anymore. For Bret, I could care less." He acknowledged the incident as a mistake stemming from his inexperience at the time and emphasized that he never intended to harm Hart. Goldberg further mentioned that he doesn't feel the need to continue apologizing, as he has already expressed his remorse multiple times. Both Hart and Goldberg were prominent figures in WCW during the late 1990s, each holding world championship titles. At the time of the incident, they were also the WCW Tag Team Champions. Following the injury, Hart was forced to vacate his titles and eventually retired from wrestling, while Goldberg continued his career. The incident remains a significant and contentious moment in professional wrestling history. Goldberg recently made some controversial comments about Bret Hart during an interview, continuing their long-standing feud. The history between the two dates back to a 1999 WCW match, where Goldberg delivered a kick to Hart's head. Hart claims this injury ended his wrestling career, and he has never hesitated to criticize Goldberg for being unsafe in the ring. Over the years, Goldberg has apologized and explained his side, but Hart has remained outspoken about his feelings, often describing Goldberg as a careless wrestler. During a recent appearance on the Von Erich Brothers podcast, Goldberg discussed Hulk Hogan and C.T. Fletcher as his go-to mentors for advice. The conversation shifted to how modern wrestling fans don't always appreciate the contributions of legends like Hogan. Goldberg expressed frustration about how quickly people forget about wrestlers like himself. He shared his thoughts on the current generation of fans, saying they rely too much on what they read online and don't understand the excitement of seeing his performances during his prime. Goldberg then made a pointed comment, referring to Hart as the moron I kicked in the head. He explained that wrestling is a tough business where accidents happen and implied that anyone who complains about occasional rough treatment in the ring might be in the wrong profession. He stressed that unless there's malicious intent, getting hurt is part of wrestling. These remarks are likely to provoke a response from Hart, who hasn't been shy about sharing his opinion on Goldberg in the past. For those interested, the full interview is available on the Von Erichs podcast. As we have discussed discussed the controversial statements Goldberg made about Bret Hart and how Bret feels about them, let's now shift focus to Goldberg's infamous kick and how Bret has coped with its impact. Goldberg's kick, Hart's downfall. Bret Hart and Bill Goldberg, former WCW Tag Team Champions, faced off at Starrcade 1999, but the match ended tragically when Goldberg's kick gave Hart a concussion that ended his career. In his autobiography Hitman, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, Bret Hart described the moment vividly. Goldberg warned him by saying, "Watch the kick," as Hart bounced off the ropes. However, the kick landed hard, and Hart described the impact as feeling like being hit with a hockey stick. The blow left him lying on the mat, holding the base of his skull in pain. Although Hart tried to finish the match, he couldn't remember the planned ending due to the concussion. He later admitted he underestimated how serious his condition was, chalking it up to a sore neck and continuing to wrestle despite severe symptoms. Hart later visited a concussion specialist, Dr. Willem Meeuwis, who found significant damage to Hart's neck and skull, warning him that his career was likely over. Despite this, Hart reflected that before the match he had told Goldberg, "Don't hurt me." Hart expressed frustration that Goldberg hadn't been more careful, but also noted that Goldberg didn't act with malicious intent. Over the years, Hart has maintained that he respects Goldberg and considers him a friend, though he wishes things had gone differently. Goldberg, for his part, has admitted deep regret over the incident, calling it the biggest mistake of his life. He has repeatedly apologized, stating that he holds Hart in the highest regard and never intended to hurt him. Despite this, Goldberg has confessed that he continues to feel guilty about the kick and knows he cannot undo the harm it caused. After the injury, Hart continued to wrestle for a brief time, unaware of the severity of his condition. However, he was later diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome and forced to vacate his title in January 2000. By the end of that year, Hart retired from professional wrestling. In a surprising turn, Hart and Goldberg have found a way to laugh about the incident over time. At autograph signings, it's not unusual to see them both sign pictures of the infamous kick. Hart has also spoken about his missed opportunities, sharing that if his career hadn't been cut short, he would have loved to have his final match with stars like Steve Austin, The Undertaker, or Shawn Michaels. He reflected that while he and Michaels had a difficult history due to the Montreal Screwjob, they later made peace and became friends. Hart expressed that they could have created a memorable match together if circumstances had been different. Despite everything, Bret Hart has moved forward, finding closure with many of his past rivals. Bret Hart is widely regarded as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. While the match with Goldberg was for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, it featured several interruptions by referees, which disrupted its flow. During the match, Goldberg delivered a super kick to Hart as he rebounded off the ropes. Despite clutching his head in pain after the kick, Hart continued to wrestle, even taking Goldberg's spear and finishing the match. The conclusion involved Roddy Piper controversially recreating the Montreal Screwjob, awarding Hart the victory amid boos from the crowd. After the injury, Hart competed in 8 more matches over the next few weeks, wrestling opponents like Jerry Flynn and Kevin Nash in televised and house show events. However, continuing to wrestle exacerbated his condition. Eventually, Hart was diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome and forced to relinquish his WCW World title in January 2000 before retiring later that year. In 2010, Hart briefly returned to WWE after reconciling with the company. He engaged in a storyline with Vince McMahon, culminating in a match at WrestleMania 26. To protect his health, Hart avoided physical bumps, instead relying on light actions like punches and chair shots. He also participated in other matches against The Miz and Chris Jericho, keeping his involvement minimal due to his physical limitations. While his career ended prematurely, Bret Hart's legacy as a wrestling icon remains untarnished. His in-ring talent and memorable moments continue to be celebrated by fans worldwide. A former WWE star has criticized Bret Hart for constantly complaining about Bill Goldberg, saying it reflects a flaw in Hart's character. Over the years, Bret Hart has frequently brought up his frustrations with Goldberg during interviews, mainly because of a kick Goldberg delivered at WCW Starrcade 1999. That kick caused a severe concussion that ultimately ended Hart's career earlier than planned. Former WWE wrestler Matt Riddle shared his perspective on the situation in an interview. He recounted sitting near Hart at a WWE catering table and attempting to engage him in conversation. According to Riddle, Hart ignored him and his friend Damian Priest, which he found disappointing. Riddle also addressed Hart's ongoing grudge against Goldberg, pointing out that Goldberg had publicly apologized and insisted the incident wasn't intentional. Riddle expressed frustration at Hart's inability to move past past the issue, saying that while many people could hold grudges for various reasons, he believes it's more productive to focus on hard work and let success speak for itself rather than continuously dwelling on past grievances. Recently, Bret Hart made a guest appearance in the November 25th episode of American Dad. Fans were thrilled to see him featured alongside his iconic 1990s theme song, with a fun nod to his title as Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Most Hated Wrestler of the Year in 1997. This wasn't Hart's first time in animated TV. He famously appeared in The Simpsons back in the 1990s. Before the episode aired, Hart shared a clip on social media, teasing his role where he saves the Smith family in the town of Langley Falls. He encouraged fans to watch the episode on TBS. In addition to his TV cameo, Hart recently appeared on Monday Night Raw in Calgary on September 9th. During the show, he shared a segment with Gunther and Sami Zayn. Backstage, he had a warm reunion with Triple H, where the two embraced, and Hart expressed how much he enjoyed seeing him again. This moment surprised fans, as Hart has been openly critical of Triple H in the past, often downplaying his skills and calling out his behavior behind the scenes. Hart even claimed in a previous interview that Triple H and Shawn Michaels had once tried to get Ken Shamrock fired by convincing Vince McMahon that Shamrock was too rough in the ring. Now that we've talked about how Bret Hart dealt with the kick and started to move forward, let's look at more important details and highlights from his life. The downfall of Bret Hart. Bret Hart is one of the most respected wrestlers in history, known for his technical skill and innovation in the ring. Even after retiring over 2 decades ago, he remains a legend in wrestling. However, not every moment of his career was a highlight. Some events, bad creative decisions, and unfortunate circumstances left lasting marks on his otherwise incredible journey. The Montreal Screwjob stands as one of the most infamous moments in wrestling history. Vince McMahon changed the planned outcome of Bret's match, causing him to lose the WWE Championship without his knowledge. This shocking betrayal left Bret bitter and overshadowed his WWE career. Despite his incredible achievements, it took him over a decade to return to WWE, showing how deeply this event affected him. After leaving WWE, fans eagerly awaited Bret's debut in WCW. Unfortunately, it turned into a disappointment when he was introduced as a referee for a match between Eric Bischoff and Larry Zbyszko. This decision wasted an opportunity to showcase his talent and started his WCW run on a weak note. Bret himself has called his submission match with Bob Backlund at WrestleMania 11 the worst of his career. Intended to end their feud, the match failed to deliver due to poor execution and storytelling, leaving fans underwhelmed and Bret disappointed. A long-anticipated match between Bret Hart and Sting in WCW also failed to live up to expectations. Fans had hoped for a showcase of their similar submission finishers, but the match was overshadowed by a confusing NWO storyline. Overbooking and a chaotic finish turned this dream match into a missed opportunity. In 1998, WCW introduced a new format for their War Games match, featuring 3 teams instead of the usual 2. Bret was part of NWO Hollywood, facing off against NWO Wolfpack and Team WCW. The match focused more on an individual prize, a WCW championship shot, rather than teamwork. Fans found it confusing and poorly executed, and it ended up being one of the least successful War Games matches in history. Bret's time as WCW champion was also marred by bad luck. He won the championship twice, but had to vacate it both times without losing in the ring. His second reign ended because of a career-ending injury caused by Goldberg. This unfortunate turn of events prevented him from having the meaningful title reigns he deserved. Bret was known for his professionalism, but tensions with Shawn Michaels led to a rare loss of composure. After Michaels implied in a promo that Bret was unfaithful to his wife, the two got into a physical altercation backstage. This fight revealed just how personal their rivalry had become, adding more drama to their already tense relationship. In WCW, Bret's alliance with Hulk Hogan damaged his reputation. Instead of being treated as a star in his own right, he was portrayed as Hogan's sidekick in the NWO Hollywood faction. Their first singles match ended in a no contest, with Bret faking an injury only to help Hogan later. This storyline made Bret seem less important than Hogan, frustrating fans. One of Bret's most embarrassing moments in WWE came at WrestleMania 99. He lost the WWE Championship to Yokozuna, only for Hulk Hogan to step in and win the title moments later. Bret endorsing Hogan to take his place felt unnecessary, especially since Hogan never returned the favor by putting Bret over in the future. While these moments were disappointing and embarrassing, they do not define Bret Hart's legacy. Despite the setbacks, he remains one of wrestling's greatest performers, and his contributions to the industry continue to be celebrated. If we talk about Bret Hart's life and achievements, he stands out as a wrestling legend whose impact goes beyond the ring. Bret Sargent Hart, born on July 2nd, 1957, is a Canadian-American retired professional wrestler with an unmatched legacy. As a second-generation American wrestler from the Hart family, his roots in wrestling run deep. Starting with an amateur wrestling background during his school days at Ernest Manning High School and Mount Royal College, Hart showcased early promise in grappling, which eventually shaped his professional journey. Bret Hart, often called the Hitman, is a name that resonates deeply in the world of professional wrestling. Known for his unmatched technical skill and ability to tell a story in the ring, he is one of the most respected figures in the history of the sport. Despite facing many challenges and setbacks during his career, Bret's passion and dedication made him a legend whose legacy continues to inspire wrestlers and fans alike. Bret was born into the famous Hart wrestling family in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. His father, Stu Hart, was a wrestling promoter and trainer running the well-known Stampede wrestling promotion. The family home, often referred to as the Hart Dungeon, became a training ground for countless wrestlers. Growing up in this environment, Bret developed a strong understanding of wrestling and a commitment to hard work that would guide him throughout his life. As a young man, Bret excelled in amateur wrestling, representing his school and later his college in various competitions. His background in amateur wrestling gave him a solid foundation of technical skills that would later define his professional style. In 1976, Bret began his journey into professional wrestling, initially working as a referee for Stampede Wrestling. It wasn't long before he stepped into the ring himself, quickly earning a reputation for his discipline and talent. When Stampede Wrestling was sold to the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, in the 1980s, Bret made the transition to a larger stage. He initially gained prominence as part of the tag team, the Hart Foundation, alongside his brother-in-law, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The duo became one of the most successful tag teams of the era, known for their chemistry and innovative matches. Bret's ability to perform with precision and flair was a major factor in their success, and they captured the WWF Tag Team Championship twice during their partnership. As Bret's career progressed, he moved into singles competition, where his skills truly shone. His first major breakthrough came when he won the WWF Intercontinental Championship in 1991 by defeating Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. This match remains a classic, showcasing Bret's technical abilities and his talent for storytelling in the ring. His ability to connect with fans both as a performer and as a person helped him stand out in an era dominated by larger-than-life characters. Bret reached the pinnacle of his career in the early 1990s, becoming the WWF champion on multiple occasions. His matches during this period, such as his bout with his brother Owen Hart at WrestleMania X and his Iron Man match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14, are still celebrated as some of the best in wrestling history. These matches not only demonstrated Bret's technical prowess, but also his ability to create emotional and compelling narratives that captivated audiences. One of Bret's most significant contributions to wrestling was his role in elevating the technical and storytelling aspects of the sport. He showed that wrestling could be more than just entertainment. It could be an art form. His matches were known for their realism, with every move and sequence carefully planned to tell a story. This approach earned him the nickname the Excellence of Execution, highlighting his dedication to perfection in the ring. Bret's rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin is a prime example of his ability to create memorable moments. Their match at WrestleMania 13 is widely regarded as one of the greatest in wrestling history. The intense physicality and psychological depth of the match made it a masterpiece, and the double turn where Bret became a villain and Austin emerged as a hero was a groundbreaking moment in storytelling. Despite his success, Bret faced many challenges during his career. One of the most notable was the Montreal Screwjob in 1997, where the planned outcome of his match was changed without his knowledge. This event deeply affected Bret and led to his departure from the WWF. While this incident left a bitter mark on his career, it also showcased his unwavering principles and commitment to fairness. After leaving the WWF, Bret joined World Championship Wrestling, WCW, where he had the opportunity to continue his career. However, his time in WCW was marked by missed opportunities and frustrating creative decisions. Despite these setbacks, Bret delivered several memorable performances, including a tribute match to his brother Owen against Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, Bret's wrestling career came to an abrupt end in 1999 due to a severe concussion caused by an accidental kick from Goldberg. The injury had long-term effects on Bret's health, including a stroke in 2002. While this marked the end of his in-ring career, Bret's influence on the sport remained strong. Hart has been married 3 times and is currently with his wife, Stephanie Washington. The two met in 2008 and tied the knot in 2010. Before Stephanie, he was married to Julie Hart and later to Cinzia Rhoda. Stephanie is known for staying active on social media. Stephanie Washington was born in 1983 in San Francisco, California, and is approximately 41 years old. She and Bret met at a party in 2008, and their relationship quickly blossomed despite their 26-year age difference. They tied the knot in 2010, marking a new chapter in Bret's life. Stephanie is known for her vibrant personality and active presence on on platforms like Instagram, where she shares moments from her life with Bret. She attended Bon Mead Secondary School and played an active role in her school's Spanish club as president, organizing foreign tours during her time there. Before his marriage to Stephanie, Bret had 2 previous marriages. He was first married to Julie Smadu in 1982, and the couple had 4 children together: Jade, Dallas, Alexandra, nicknamed Beans, and Blade. They divorced in 2002. His second marriage to Cynthia Rhoda began in 2004, but ended in 2007 due to disagreements about where to live. In retirement, Bret continued to contribute to wrestling in various ways. He wrote an autobiography, Hitman: My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, which provided fans with an in-depth look at his life and career. The book was praised for its honesty and detail, giving readers a deeper understanding of the challenges and triumphs he experienced. Bret also became a mentor and inspiration for younger wrestlers, passing on the lessons he had learned throughout his career. His emphasis on safety, respect, and professionalism in the ring influenced how modern wrestling is performed. Many of today's top wrestlers, such as CM Punk and Edge, cite Bret as a major influence on their own careers. In recognition of his contributions to the industry, Bret was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame twice, first as an individual in 2006, and later as part of the Hart Foundation in 2019. These honors reflect the lasting impact of his work and the respect he has earned from fans and peers alike. Bret's legacy is one of resilience and excellence. He proved that wrestling could be both athletic and artistic, using his skills to create unforgettable moments that continue to inspire. While his career had its share of disappointments and challenges, Bret's dedication to his craft and his passion for the sport ensured that his achievements would be remembered for generations. Today, Bret Hart's name remains synonymous with excellence in professional wrestling. His journey is a testament to the power of hard work, perseverance, and staying true to one's principles. Whether as a champion, a mentor, or a symbol of integrity in the sport, Bret Hart's influence on wrestling is undeniable, and his story will continue to inspire those who follow in his footsteps. If you like this video, hit on the card showing on your screen for more amazing content.